Now we'll go ahead and take it a step further, but actually solve by factoring. So steps here is first, we want to make sure that we set the equation equal to 0. Next, we're going to factor, so just like what we did in the previous videos, and then just like we did in previous units and some previous lessons, we're going to set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So looking at the first one, I have 3n squared plus 4n plus 1 equals 0. I want to solve this, so I do need to factor it. First, I check for GCF. I see there isn't one. So next I want to go ahead and multiply a times c. So I have 3 times 1, and I get 3. And I'm looking for two numbers that add to equal to 4, but multiply to get to 3. And I see it's going to be 1 and 3. So I'm going to split my middle. So instead of 4n, I'm going to have n plus 3n. Bring down my 3n squared. And bring down my plus 1. And now I'm going to factor by grouping, so I'm going to pair these off. The GCF in my first pair is going to be n. And then careful here on the second pair, so I have 3n and 1. I see, okay, there isn't a GCF there. Nothing goes into 3 and 1, and there's not an n. Whenever that happens, there's really just going to be a GCF of 1. So it's not 0, it's actually 1. So my GCF n goes out. 3n squared divided by n, I get 3n. Plus n divided by n, and I get 1. My GCF of 1 comes out. 3n divided by 1 is 3n. 1 divided by 1 is 1. And so my GCFs come together, and I have n plus 1 times 3n plus 1 is equal to 0. And now, just like we did before, I want to set each factor equal to 0 and solve those. So I have n plus 1 is equal to 0, or 3n plus 1 is equal to 0. I'll subtract 1 from both sides. I get n equals negative 1. Subtract 1. And then divide by 3. And I get n equals negative 1/3. So my two answers here are negative 1 and negative 1/3. Okay, so I see here this one's not set equal to 0, so I first have to set it equal to 0. And to do that, I'm going to add 20 to both sides. And I want to put that at the very end, so this is in standard form. And now I'm going to go ahead and multiply a times c. So I have 3 times 20 equals 60. Now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 60, but then add to negative 19. So since they're multiplying to a positive number, but they're adding to a negative number, that means that both of my factors are going to be negative. So negative 1, negative 60, nope. Negative 2, negative 30, no. No. I need a little more space. And see, negative 4 and negative 15, those multiply to positive 60, and I see those do add to a negative 19. So that means instead of negative 19x, I want to have negative 4x minus 15x plus 20 is equal to 0. So I split that negative 19 into negative 4 and negative 15. I'm going to factor by grouping. My GCF my first pair is x. GCF my second pair is going to be negative 5, because again, I don't want that first term to be negative. 3x squared divided by x, I get 3x. Negative 4x divided by x, I get negative 4. Negative 15x divided by negative 5, I get 3x. 20 divided by negative 5, I get negative 4. And so I have x minus 5. 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. And now for my last step, I want to set each of these equal to 0 and solve both equations. And those are my two answers.